Hey, welcome to Rockley. If you're a record collecting addict, junkie, you're amongst friends here. And I'm going to share albums that I love that aren't on the vinyl format. Stay tuned.
Get ready for Rockley, bringing music to you. Rockley, rock and roll, metal and country too. Get ready for the record of the week. Get ready for Rockley.
So I kept this list strictly to albums that have never been on the vinyl format. And hopefully, by putting this out there in the world, my dream of owning these albums on wax will come to fruition. So let's jump into it. Okay, in no particular order, the first album I would love if it were pressed to vinyl is Shapeshifter by Marcy Playground. You might be familiar with Marcy Playground from their mega hit in the 90s called Sex and Candy off their self-titled album, which I have over here. And great album. Love the vocals on this, the 90s production. And this is a Record Store Day reissue of this album, and it sounds really, really good. And anyway, so I love this album so much, so then I started exploring their discography and found Shapeshifter, released in 1999. Another really fantastic album with the opening track It's Saturday, and I also like Pigeon Farm. It's just a really kind of like funny, kooky song, but I just really dig that album, and I don't know if they just kind of fell out of favor, maybe like overexposure, or maybe the music industry, 99, things were just transitioning in rock music, so that album just wasn't as popular, but Shapeshifter is a really great record, so I'd love to see it on the vinyl format, and has some awesome album artwork, but if you're interested, I would definitely check out It's Saturday and Pigeon Farm. Okay, so next up on my list is Dance Naked by John Mellencamp. And I don't know if you're familiar with the expression, one for you, one for me, in the entertainment industry, but it's kind of this idea that artists will do one, like if they're an actor, a movie for the studio, if they're a musician, a album for the label, then they'll do one for themselves as an artist that, they're not trying to sell this record, but expressing themselves. They'll do one for them, and back and forth is kind of how they'll play out. So John Mellencamp apparently has bought into this, or at least in the media claims that some of his records were done for the label, and he is very candid about his disdain for some of his records. So the 91 album, Whenever We Wanted, is one of those records that Mellencamp claims was done for his label, that he's not very fond of. Then he released Human Wheels, which he's very high on. It did not sell well, and the label was complaining, so he said to spite his label, he, ran to the studio, and 2 weeks, which was very quick, he claims, to produce a record, to make silly pop songs for his label, which is Dance Naked. Now, I love the title track on that album. His cover of Wild Nights by Van Morrison is really good. But the whole record, really, it's a fun, good, solid record. So to me, it's impressive that something he thinks like he didn't spend very much time on or put much effort into is of that quality. So anyway, I would love to see Dance Naked on vinyl, but I'm not sure that that's ever going to happen. Even in John Mellencamp's recent box set reissue, which phenomenal sound. Those are the best versions of the John Cougar Mellencamp discography. of all those records. The sound is phenomenal. But the album, which he has been very vocal over the years, Nothing Matters and What If It Did, he hates this album. Again, says silly pop songs. He made it because that's what they wanted him to make. And he has been very vocal that absolutely, like, this is garbage, don't buy it. So it's omitted from the recent box set. So I would be shocked if Dance Naked makes an appearance on vinyl, but you never know. Okay, so next is Relative Ash and their album Our Time With You. Released in 2001. They're a nu metal, alt metal rock band, and very similar to the Deftones, especially their first two albums. So if you're a fan of Adrenaline by the Deftones and Around the Fur, I think you will really, really dig Relative Ash. In fact, I was posting these Deftone records on Instagram, and I had a follower message me and said, "Hey, have you heard of Relative Ash? If not, I think you'll like them." And he was right. Really dig that album, but it's only on CD. Hasn't been pressed to vinyl, and fantastic album. If you want to check out the track Breathe, Tiny Hands, that's probably my favorite off the album. And then a track called 530, very good. And there's also back to Breathe, Tiny Hands, that track. There's a fan-made music video. I'll try to put a link to it down below, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, if you like that kind of like whispery, sexy singing the Deftones do, it's very similar on Relative Ash. The vocals, obviously he's a little different, but he definitely emulates that style. It's eerily similar, but it's really, really good. So I highly recommend checking out Relative Ash, and I hope they press it to vinyl. Okay, and then my final album that I wish was on vinyl is One Fell Swoop by the Spill Canvas. This is a emo pop rock band from the early 2000s. They just recently had their debut album reissued on vinyl called Sunsets and Car Crashes, done by Enjoy the Ride Records. Phenomenal pressing, by the way. Enjoy the Ride really knocked this one out of the park. Packaging spectacular, the sound. So Spill Canvas is actually just kind of a moniker for Nick Thomas, the singer-songwriter. And on this album particularly is more acoustic. Really great record. I love this. If you like that sappy emo music, is really good and one of my favorites from the genre. But One Fell Swoop would be the follow-up. You would add the full band element, and I love that album. It has been on my want list for a very long time. I've annoyed the label 111 Records, the band, anybody who was willing to listen. I was asking them, would you please reissue One Fell Swoop? So I have my fingers crossed that Enjoy the Ride will reissue it on vinyl for the first time. Fantastic record. It's hard for me to pick a track off of it. If you're wanting to give it a sample listen, I would just start with the opener, the Lusta Prima Vista. The opener is a really hard driving track. Then you have Staple Gun, which is the single off the album, another really good track that at that time they were transitioning guitarists, so there's two versions of that song. But both are really good. Anyway, I love this album. I love the artwork. Would love to see it in vinyl in my hands one day. Alright, well that's it for this week. That is my list of records I wish were on the vinyl format, and I would love to hear what albums you are pining for to be pressed to vinyl. And you just had a healthy dose of broccoli. I'll see you next time.